Hello and welcome to Bond Table. I'm Mass and this is another Conquest Battle Report. Hey, how are you? I'm playing Dweg. So, what's going on? We get to talk about Dweg a little more in detail. I hope everyone's excited for that. We get to talk about specifically Tempered Steelshaper list and the Tempered Creed and all that. Did I do some research before this? No, I was just like, I was told Steelforge are good and Fireforged have always been really solid. So the list is basically, what if I just spam the same thing over and over and over again? Because I believe a lot of people know I don't have very many creative thoughts and I just kind of go and do whatever I want. But, let's talk about what's going on. So this is the Calgary October 25th event. You're probably going to be receiving this like a month later. Mass, why is that? You know, I get home and then I immediately have to go to work. So it's one of those, okay, it's recorded, go to work, come home. Or sorry, it's not recorded, it's played. I went to the tournament, I played 3 rounds of Dweghom. And then it's record after, and then it's produced probably while I'm at work. So you're gonna see this a while later. So you're gonna have to forgive me about any of the games if I miss anything, or if I'm not in a specific amount of detail, or more detail than maybe I would normally talk about, just because this game has been played, or these games have been played 2 weeks ago, almost 3 weeks ago. Were they enjoyable? Yes. So, here's the list. This is dozen eggs, please. This is a joke onto the Americans who are having egg problems because their eggs are not cheap. Why is it eggs? Well, this comes from Hannah from Germany. She calls Steelforge eggs. That's kind of a colloquialism that has been picked up by the Dweghom community. Steelforge are eggs. There you go. So if anyone says, oh, I brought a bunch of eggs, and they're talking about Dweghom, you know what you're talking about, Steelforge. Well, what do we stop at the top? So, Tempered Creed, woo! So, you know, you can only have separate Steelshaper, Sorcerer, Hold Ray, Lost Ancestor, Warlord, who cares about that? Friendly tempered characters successfully casting a spell give you an elemental power token. You can have a maximum of 10. In addition, when your characters cast a spell, you can immediately spend up to 6, and for every 2 you get a wizard level +1. Sweet, that's pretty fun. Did I do any of that? Actually, I did not. Why did I not do any of that? Because my list is basically all Steel School, and I was kind of just self-buffing myself most of the time, to really be honest. There were very few times I used a lot of the other spells that I should have. In a lot of cases, I really should have gone into Honed Blades. Unmake Armor wasn't as relevant as maybe I was hoping. It was relevant into my last game, the Old Dominion game, simply removing Harden and decreasing the armor by 1 with all the cleave 1 and AP that the list has. Really breaks down those defense stats and you can get damage through. But I played into Yoroni, who's D3 base across the table, and with cleave 1 games then down to D2 with really no Harden, or very little Harden. There wasn't really much of a point casting on Make Armor, while Temper played for Indom 1, Tenacious 1 was just going to do more for me. Honed Blades I never cast. I really should have, and especially into my Old Dominion matchup in retrospect. I'll kind of talk about that more when we get there. I'm just kind of going through the spells of the Steel School. I do like Honed Blades. They're just like, I just found being more defensive was going to help out the list more. Simply because like your casters are generating tokens. The Elemental Power 2 tokens are just going to be called Ogham Coin from now on, and I joke around that the Tempered School is now just like they're crypto miners. Like Dweghom is just crypto mining. They're crypto mining their Ogham coin. I have been informed by the grandfather of Dweghom that I am a negative Ogham because I'm a war criminal for what I do to my minis and how I paint them. I have to, you know, take that at heart here. I will work to do better. However, I do bring him beer whenever I see him at big events. So that's, you know, really slowly paying off my Ogham debt. In this list, especially with the Tempered Steelshaper, you're not really going to be in Ogham debt because he's a fun little warlord. So let's get into him. We've kind of touched on this little spells. I'll probably go into a little bit more detail, but him specifically and why he's the warlord is that you're going to be doing an attrition style list with him because of his supremacy of whenever anything becomes awakened, you're going to heal 2 wounds. Okay, sweet. How do you awaken stuff? In Tempered, everyone has an empowerment thing, or, you know, I think a majority of the Tempered / Forge regiments, I think it's the Forge regiment specifically. Things can be Tempered, but mostly just the Forge. They have an empowerment ability, and it's during their draw event step when you draw their card. You can spend tokens you've acquired, and you can empower them. Now, I made a mistake, because part of the Tempered Creed is that if you don't empower or use the empowerment, you gain a token. You gain an Dweghom coin. Sweet. So this is a really weird interaction that I didn't understand until after the event, and I actually hindered myself quite a bit, but still did all right. With this list, you'll generate tons of Dweghom coin. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want, so it's super fun. But what happens is, when a regiment enters the battlefield, you do not do any draw events because they weren't on the table at the time. Okay, that's fair. But if the Forged regiment doesn't do a draw event, you gain a coin. You gain an elemental power token or whatever you want to call it. So, but those two different abilities are not tied to each other. I thought they were tied to each other. Like, you do the draw event, you don't empower, you get a token. Okay, so when my stuff comes on the table, I don't get a token, but because it did come on the table and it didn't spend, it gains a token. Like, they're two separate things, and there's a bunch of wording in the Dweghom document as I've played these games that I'm like, this just needs to be cleaned up, to really be honest. There's mistakes in here that I'm going to talk about as I go through my games and different things I'm going to hit up, but this is one of them that, and there's like pluses and minuses. This is one of them where like it just needs to be clearly stated it's not tied to the draw event, because I thought it was tied to the draw event. Like, if you do the draw event, you didn't spend any tokens for your empowerment, you gain a token. Okay, cool. Not, did you empower at all? No, you gain a token. So you can run on the table, gain a token. So I was down a bunch of tokens right off the bat, but that's okay. You got 3 wizards here with Lost Ancestor, Tempered Steelshaper. They're all in the School of Steel. They can all generate free tokens with Tempered Plate. Tempered Plate, I think, is a fantastic spell of Indom 1, Tenacious 3. My first game, I thought it was scaling. So I was counting in the fact that I had to scale for like my Lost Ancestor and Steelforge, or Tempered Steelshaper and Fireforge. What's kind of annoying, so I figured that out after the first game, but my first game I'm literally casting with scaling when it wasn't a scaling spell. Unmake Armor is a scaling spell, but the higher the armor, the higher the attunement, so it kind of balances out. Unmake Armor is very much, this is the one you kind of want to boost the wizard levels on. Also, you probably want to cast off your Steelshaper because he's a wizard 7 and he ignores interference, unlike the Lost Ancestor who's wizard 6 and will take interference. What else we got here? Another one, I screwed this up on my second game, but I corrected on my third game. The Steelshaper does not suffer interference. We've kind of all known that. That's one of the old classics of a Steelshaper. However, the regiment this character is currently attached to, or friendly forged regiments, currently within 10, require 1 additional success to be cast. When an enemy casts a spell targeting that regiment and character and stuff. So he will put out a bubble of interference and a bubble of, if you try to put a debuff or a harmful attack spell on me, they need 1 more success, so it makes it harder. This does not affect buffs or for your opponent. So like healing spells, buff spells, it will not affect that. Attunement will still be affected, however, not the additional success. I screwed that up in my second game. Sorry to my opponent. I did correct it for my third game, and let's keep going. So yeah, there's going to be a bunch of these because of just weird wording and how things flow. But you're playing games, shit happens, correct it, move on. What is it? Refined Behind Nature. He doesn't duel, and he also has negative resolve. What else? Okay. His supremacy and why I really picked a Steelshaper list. When a friendly Forge regiment becomes awakened, you heal 2 wounds. In addition, once per game, a non-monster Forge regiment may immediately spend 3 markers from your pool to heal 5. Alright, let's talk about this. So I fucked this one up. I found in retrospect, or not retrospect, after the fact, after the tournament, like a week or 2 later, that in addition, once per game, this once per game mark isn't per regiment, it's once for the round. So it's this once per round abilities is tied to the always active portion of the supremacy. What confused people, including myself, and I talked to some people during the Bonk Table Discord, you can find the link in the description below, that I was like, okay, so once per game, each of my regiments can spend 3 when they awaken to heal 5. No, supposedly it's once per round, you can spend 3 to heal your regiment's 5 when they awaken for that round, but it doesn't really state that very well. And once again, this is another problem. The fucking Dweghom document was kind of pissing me off because I feel like I've now
misguided game developers.
This is a big one. I want to say sorry to my my opponents for these games. because this wasn't like written clearly. I should have done maybe more research on it, but in my mind and talking to other people about it, it should have been played the other way. It's kind of fucking annoying, to be honest. Kind of mad. Might leave the posit. So how did I find out about that? I played it wrong. Well, I talked to some guys in Bonk Table, and I was like, "Hey, this is how I read it. This is how I think it's played." Got kind of confirmation back that that's how it's played. And then someone posts a rules email about, "Oh, it's played the other way." I'm like, for fuck's sakes, like, don't reply how it's played in the email. Put it in the FAQ. Update the wording so that it's played properly.
Misguided game developers.
Stated any rulings from an email doesn't count, and it's just like, well, fuck me. Now I feel like a jackass. We still have email rulings, but need to stop that have like died down and are slowly coming back, and I'm just like, oh, fuck me. So now I'm pissed about this. I don't know if that's gonna stay in. Maybe I'll just be angry. All right, next part. Activate. Oh wow, look guys, activate. Wow, right here. Fucking, oh my god. Who did this? Activate during this round. Wow, look, there's wording for this kind of a build. Okay, I gotta stop. I'm gonna just be a prick about this. God damn it. Okay, so activate during this round when a friendly forge regiment activates. Immediately add an elemental power marker to your elemental power pool. This is during the supremacy step, so after, it's either before or after dice roll. I forget, really. People are usually chill about it. It's like, I think you have to declare it before you roll the dice, to be honest. This one doesn't really matter if you declare it before and after, because it's like, yeah, I'm going to gain an extra power marker or token or Ogham coin. This is really nice, so if you're low on tokens, like you're spending a bunch of them, you can just do this and like gain a bunch. What's really nice about this is that your Fireforge have the empowerment. You spend a coin, you get +2 barrage until the end of the round. So you declare the supremacy, your Fireforge go, they empower, activate, get a coin, spend the coin immediately for plus barrage, do their thing, perfect. You're not losing coins, you're not gaining coins, you're just doing your thing for free. You activate the supremacy usually around turn 4 or 5, usually when a majority of the fights are going to happen, and that's when I start activating the coins. Alright, Temple Steelshaper, that's him. He does have Smite and Terrifying 1. Did not know he had Terrifying 1. God damn it, I should read my characters more. That might help later, or should have helped, but whatever, it's fine. He's in Unit Fireforge. Mass, he's a melee character in Unit Fireforge. Yeah, it's fine. He's spellcasting. I don't really care. I just wanted more Fireforge. Would there be anything else I would really trade him for? Maybe Magma Forge, but Fireforge are 160. Can you take Steelforge? You can take Steelforge. What can you take? I'm thinking here. I could have put another Unit Fireforge over into his warband, put a Steelforge. He's still, yeah, like, drop a Steelforge for Magma Forge. Like, what do you do? Yeah, no. If I was 170, I took Infernal as a brute. Basically, he can't go in the brute. He has to go in the infantry, and it's fine. He can kind of sit at the end of a line of guys and just cast his spells. He's got good debuffs. He's got good buffs. He's fine just buffing people, and then if the Fireforge ever do get engaged, their D3 with shield, R3 is going to keep him alive long enough so that he can kind of just smack people with his smites and Terrifying 1. He's doing a great job. I love him a lot. If you hear a dog, I'm very sorry. This is my neighbor's dog. Alright, so next warband, Lost Ancestor. He's got Champion Horns, +1 attack. Sweet. Steel School. Mass, you put everyone in Skill School and then you duplicated it. Yeah, because I'm lazy and Steel School is good. There are talks, if you go Tempered Sorcerer, you want to put the Lost Ancestors in Fire School, or if you're playing Tempered Sorcerer in Magma School, you put the Lost Ancestors in Mega School. So you drop a piece of terrain and then you Pyroclast them out of it like 4 different times. I have all your different Tempered Sorcerers and Lost Ancestors, and you'll do a ton of damage. That'll be really great. However, I wanted to run an attrition style list. I wanted to maximize the defensive characteristics of the Steelforge with Indom 1, Tenacious 1, the healing, and how Lost Ancestor draw event interacts with the Awaken mechanic. So, Lost Ancestor have not all wander are lost. The regiment the character is currently attached to immediately becomes awakened. So this is a draw event on the character. So you'll have the Lost Ancestor in your deck, and then you'll have the Steelforge underneath. You'll draw the Lost Ancestor, awaken the Steelforge. Oh, they become awakened. And now, how this ruling works and how it's been FAQ'd is, if you awaken multiple times, you'll not gain the benefit of, like, spamming empowerment. So you can't just go, like, This regiment adds +2 attacks. This regiment adds +2 attacks. This regiment adds +2 attacks. That would get a little insane. However, anything that triggers off of Awaken, like, oh, I don't know, the heal from the Steelshaper Supremacy will trigger. So you can Lost Ancestor draw event, heal 2, cast his spells, Litanies of Battle, Songs of Defense, any of the Steel School spells that I was using in this list, gain a token, and then you can immediately entourage into Steelforge, spend some tokens, either spend 1 for attacks or harden, or spend 3 for +2 attacks and harden 1. This will then awaken them again, and they will then heal another 2, so they'll heal 4. So if you're not killing a stand of Steelforge, they can heal back up all the way to full health just off of that. Using the big heal off of this Tempered Steelshaper, because it's at the activation, and when they become awakened, so you have to spend tokens to awaken them, and then you spend an additional 3 to heal the 5. So if I wanted to heal 5 on the Steelforge and get +2 attacks and get hardened 1, I would have to spend 6 tokens. So just a heads up on that one. But you generate tons of tokens in this. Like, you're getting 3 free tokens off the spellcasters. Usually have 1 or 2 Fireforge in the back, just generating tokens. You have 1 or 2 Steelforge in the back in position, generating tokens. Like, you're gonna be fine with tokens. Don't you worry. Other spells, I used was it Songs of Descent? Yes, it was I did use Songs of Descent all in my first game. I'll kind of explain that when we hit there. But target enemy regiment immediately suffers 1+ X hits, where the X is the number of awakened within 12 to a max of 6. This is just free damage. I used this to kill off one stand that had 2 health left, because I had a bunch of stuff awakened. So Lost Ancestor draw event, awakened, heal the Steelforge, Songs of Descent, because there's a bunch of others. Well, the Steelforge are awakened. There's a couple other guys awakened. The regiment I'm engaged with 2 health less takes 4 damage, dies. Immediately entourage in the Steelforge, charge the thing behind it, do a bunch of damage. It's great. I like it. Litanies of Battle, on the other hand, is target-friendly regiment gains the Dread special rule to end of the round. That's fine. I kind of like the Indom Tenacious 1 over the Dread, but if you can stack it from different sources of Lost Ancestors or the Temporal Steelshaper, you'll be fine. Lost Ancestors himself has good attacks. He's 5 base. This one's 6 because of Champion's Horn, because I had 10 points left over. He's fine dueling. He's E3. He's hardened 1, D3. There's very little that it gets around evasion. So him being evasion 3 baseline is just okay, what's the point of your defense? Resolve 4 is really strong, especially on Steelforge. So they're going to be Resolve 5 when he's in a unit. That's going to be really slick. 6 wounds on that E3. He's going to be fine. Clash 3 with Cleave 2. He's going to actually win some fights. He doesn't die fighting like a lot of other characters do. You can take, on my other Lost Ancestor, I took the Bloody Minded Focus to die fighting. Sweet. But he does have Lethal Demise 6, so they'll just take 6 hits. I think this is mostly just to represent that the Lost Ancestor is a ghost in a suit of armor running around. And, if the armor breaks, he's kind of gone, so he just kind of explodes instead of really doing anything else. I like him. He's fun. I got 2 of them. I have to give a big shout out to Garrett with 2 T's, also known as Dino, also known as the guy who is working, doesn't work, he owns, or partially owns, I think his wife really owns it, Some Geekery. They are the Canadian company out of Calgary who makes all the widgets, all the Canadian trophies, so measuring sticks, measuring widgets for Conquest, any other nerdy stuff. I would strongly recommend you go Google Some Geekery. They have an Etsy store and buy their stuff. He was gracious enough to pick up my Lost Ancestors, additional Steelforge and additional Fireforge, build them for me, so when I flew over to Calgary, I could just pick them up, play, throw them in my toolbox, go home. It's really thankful for him. Big shout out to one of my best buds. And also, I don't think I touched his face this time, as a sign of respect to not, be rude to him. Also, he played Conquest. I forced him into the tournament, so sadly, him and I did not play into each other, but he was there enjoying himself. He did go 1-1-1, so congratulations, Garrett. Okay, what else we got? We got double Steelforge, double Fireforge. I'm going a little depth into Fireforge. They got a good point cost. 160 is cheap as fuck for what they're doing. You're basically going to be Barrage 5, so you're going to be doing 16 shots at range 14, AP 1, volley 2, so once you get into range, you're going to be just take aim and shoot. If a bigger target, like someone on a horse, hits you, you can have another Fireforge right behind. Their defensive stats are tanky enough, plus with the healing from Awaken, that You can kind of like heal up chip damage. What's super nice, and their point cost is really efficient. Fireforge are in a phenomenal spot currently. Would recommend a bunch of Fireforge, like I did. I took 5 of them. So yes, I am spamming Fireforge. Lastly, we have Steelforge. Steelforge are probably the best thing out of Tempered, like as a regiment, not just the characters shooting like Wizard 10 fireballs at people and blowing up the world. When I run a Tempered Sorcerer list, we'll talk about that insanity. But Steelforge are a phenomenal stat line for 210. D4, R4. I didn't think they had any evasion, so I was getting shot by Bow Chosen. I was just taking damage. I didn't realize they had evasion 1. So, once again, screwing myself over. Don't do that, mass. Have a good game. Read your stats, you know, everything like that. They do have 5 attacks base, what's fine. It's actually really good. 5 wounds, clash 3, speed 6. Like, this is all a good stat line. They're unstoppable, impact 2, cleave 1. So they're going to do work. They're going to get in there. They're going to be a great wall. They're a great brawler. I've kind of talked about them before, but with the changes to the Dweghom update, they've actually gotten better. They're no longer going to be like Clash 5 rerolling 6s. However, they are 7 attacks on 3s going to 4s. And then they can also gain Harden 1. One of their weaknesses was High Cleave. Adding in Harden 1 kind of reduces that. And then also giving them Indom 1 and Tenacious 1 from the Steel School. Makes them even more tanky. On top of that, with the healing from the Steelshaper, healing up that chip damage just makes them even more tanky and harder to kill. A lot of my opponents kind of hit the Steelforge, got stuck in there, and the Steelforge just kept hitting back while the Fireforge got into position and just shot him up. And that's a good little combo going on in the entire list. Besides that, that's it. It's 4 units of Steelforge, 5 units of Fireforge, Steelshaper Warlord with double lost Ancestor. What more do you want out of, can I have a dozen eggs, please? Alright, let's get into the games. Hey, okay, so here's turn 1 of game 1. I'm playing into Yoroni. I'm not, this gentleman, he's named Alex. He's kind of just playing what I think is just a lot of like Yoroni he has. A lot of it is painted. It does look very beautiful. Except for, you know, these guys aren't painted, but that's fine. What are we playing? I think we're playing, I should know what this is, but I don't. So we are playing Breakout. My opponent's Yoroni. He's got, I believe, a block of Kami. He's got a block of Kappa. He's got some other Kappa. He's got 2 units of Bowbirds and then a big, like monster samurai guy. It's the one that collects all the different ideals, and he becomes like a Pokemon master. So, yeah, that's kind of the list. He only has 1 light. I have 0 lights, so I'm really just have 8 mediums, 8 or 9 mediums. What is it? 4. Yeah, 4, 8, 9, 9 mediums. So I'm rolling like 4 or 8 dice on turn 2 to see all my stuff show up. But surprisingly, actually gets a bunch of it on the table just because of the amount of dice. That I do quite like. The floating armor, the Doru immediately just kind of like run up the table. He's immediately going for my ejector marker. I'm like, okay, we talk about this, and I repeat over and over again. Your ejector marker is to your left. And if there's like anything that needs to be moved over or to adjust for, we'll just do that, because this is one of those scenarios where you're like, yes, I have forgotten which one is mine, and now I'm attacking it and fucked up the position entirely. As for terrain, we got that swampy water. We got that big old wizard tower house right here. We got double forest, more swampy water, and another thing of obstructing. Overall, not bad, but it is in, I feel like, decent locations, and it's asymmetrical enough where it's not gonna, like, either side, it's not one-sided or in favor of. But yeah, that's really just turn 1. Making him play with his lights over to the zone, charge it, do impacts, clash it, and like do some damage. Maybe run up and shoot it with Bowbirds next turn, or just kill it off and just kind of push through. Because like right now, with the ejector markers and the 2 buildings, this is cut off a lot, and him and I need to find a way through, or to like go 2 stands wide right here. So you just like burp like that, come down the middle. But it's mostly just going to be effective of like who can kill off their objective more effectively and then push through. Currently in the middle. Alright, let's go into turn 2. Here's turn 2. So as you can see, Steelshaper Warlord. Oh, there we go. Steelshaper Warlord. in this Fireforge. Lost Ancestor first, Lost Ancestor second, other unit Fireforge. I'm not going to remember which one I declared as the Bloody Mind Focus one and the Champion's Horn one, to be honest, right off the bat. This is super old at this point that I can't be bothered. I'm doing a heavy decline flank. The reason for that is because there's a ton of space over here. I have 2 units of Fireforge, 2 units of Steelshapers running up the table. Turn 2 is pretty fine to like establish that. My opponent doesn't really make a play for this zone right off the bat. We'll just, I don't know, doing green. Sure. So I'm not super worried, and also I wasn't really going to be going after that zone right away to begin with. He does do his plan of, with his suits of armor going in, does 2 damage, so he's already trying to make a breakthrough. Oh, he has his, his Oni. Oh, blue. Remember, blue for my opponent. We got this. He's got his Oni. That's it. That's his big old Oni block. I think that's E. Not sure which one that is. There's like an Olabun and a Damio. I don't know which one's which, but it doesn't really matter. So yeah, he's got his hammer block with his Oni, and then he's got his Kami kind of tank block coming up the table there. So he's really looking to kind of push through, generate enough space, and get that hammer block to fight whatever kills off the Dormu. But I think it's like not a bad plan. The only issue I have with that plan is that this is still a really tight area. It's not a lot of space to kind of like flex and cover and hit, while I'm kind of playing a little bit more back and are just kind of setting myself up on the table. What else we got here? We got, I believe, a Kitsume and an Oni block with Origami going for that zone. She's fine sitting there. You'll see next turn, like, I'm going to draw this purple line, and I talked to my opponent about this, where he should have just threw that brick kind of right there and toe on the edge of the zone to score it out. Force me to come to him, back off if need be, because he's putting up a strong center, but he's currently trying to break through the scenario center to get to me. He doesn't need to engage that flank, he just needs to kind of contest it. Running up, scoring, and then backing off puts him up ahead, and then he can, do other stuff on this side of the table. I have regiments. I got 2 Steelforged units and another 3 Fireforged units. I can send a Steelforge and like 2 Fireforge up that side of the table if it really needs to be, and then, drop another Fireforge on my left. But he has a majority of his stuff kind of already on the table. There's only a couple other regiments that are coming on next turn, but I'm still behind, but I already have enough threat projecting here that I'm good. I'm kind of splitting off like one Steelshaper, one Steelforge, one Fireforge, one Fireforge, one Steelforge, and move forward like so. So the Steelforge can, get engaged, fight my opponent. Fireforge can come up and shoot. If my opponent does try and reach my Fireforge, I have Steelforge nearby to fight back and collapse on them if they try to go for it. So yeah, besides that, we're doing really good. Generating a bunch of tokens. You can tell I'm generating tokens because I have buff spells on stuff. It's all just Tenacious 1 and Indom 1. Alright, let's get into turn 3. Here's turn 3. Doing good so far. So, Dormo, they just kill the ejector marker. Sweet, gain some points. I march charge my Lost Ancestor and his Steelforge into that unit. Do a bunch of damage. I did shoot. I'll do it in orange. Not you. I did shoot them with my Fireforge before I did that. And that locks the Oni unit from getting past the Dormu. I'm like, that's fine. I can either clash, kill the Dormu. I start looking through my Lost Ancestor spells, and I realize that I have the Descent spell, which will do a bunch of damage. So I'm like, okay, well, he can either retreat and probably die that way, and then hit me, and I can move forward, or I can awaken a bunch of stuff, drop an Awaken Bomb on it, and then entourage to my Steelforge and charge through. I got enough Steelforge that I can kind of like pick and choose which one I want, and even if I don't do it in the right way, like say he uses the Dormu, there's probably a good chance that he'll use his Dormu, either run off, and I can draw into my Steelforge because I just have so many multiples of them. Next thing, what's going on here? He runs his Kitsume onto the edge of the zone here. Doesn't cover the entire thing because he's just so far back. After the game, I did tell him to like put his Kitsume back there, force me, like I said in the previous turn, so I have to move up. He thought he was in a really good spot because I moved this Fireforge unit up and like shot at the suits of armor. Get some chip damage in there because he's like, okay, I'm gonna keep the Fireforge out, but those Steelforge hadn't activate yet, and I'm like, okay, Steelforge, charge in, and 7 attacks each, impacts, a bunch of damage. Lost Ancestor just did a bunch of damage, kind of wiped them out completely. Had a really good roll. Cleave 1 did a lot of work. I'm happy with that. Gets me on the zone, gets me scoring that. Good there. And with that, because both bowbirds have been deployed over here, that zone is now uncontested. So now that I can, move the Steelforge off, get the Fireforge on later in the game, or just have the Steelforge sit there if they're no longer needed. But I've secured that zone for the remainder of the game. That's something I don't have to fight for. I've locked my opponent back in the middle between these two buildings, and I'm in a really good spot. This commie brick moved up in a position, and then I charged my Steelforge brick into the Dormu, and that forced the commie brick over. So he's going to have to, march, wheel, then charge if he wants to get out behind his objective and into my Fireforge. Knowing that that commie brick is looking to get into my Fireforge, and it doesn't have a valid charge target into my Steelforge brick right here, I wouldn't really call it a brick, but it doesn't have a valid charge target into that Steelforge just because of how it's going to line up, and with the ejector marker. He's kind of forced to just run by into the Fireforge. That's why I have my MSU Steelforge set up here so that it can go and charge into the flank. They'll be fine. And then I also have another unit of Fireforge right up behind them because the commie are bigger, so I can just, light them up once they hit that Fireforge unit. Steelshaper's there providing the Tenacious 1 Indom buff, and then with D4 R3 with the size up to R4 should keep them alive long enough that I can do enough damage and have a, be good. Kill them, get them out of here. Bowbirds, they just run up. That's it. They just get into position. The big samurai guy who's going to collect all the ideals, he's making a play for the zone. That's fine. I see that coming. I drop a Steelforge, I drop a Fireforge. I'm like, okay, we can kind of stall and ditter out here. I'm in a good spot in the middle right now. I have another unit of Fireforge in reserve who can then go to the right side. I have no reason to push them on the left side. I need to get them into the zone. I have no idea if this is scoring or not. We'll find out when I do this in the edit and I put the score up for everybody. But yeah, I'm feeling really good about this. I just need to kind of play chicken with the big suit of armor guy, or not, yeah, the monster. Double layer with the Fireforge and just kind of shoot into it until it dies. Hopefully get a side charge with the Steelforge. Just take some shots from the bowbirds, not the end of the world. The Steelshaper healing will kind of keep them alive. Alright, let's get into turn 4? Yeah, I think it's 4. Here's turn 4. Okay, so we'll just do left from right. Fireforge. I think my opponent was to roll off, charges in his commie block right into my Fireforge, does a bunch of impacts and tramples, kills off a stand. I'm like, oh no. This leaves my Fireforge. They go and just clash them. Other unit of Fireforge takes aim and shoots them, so we'll just go boom, 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 boom. And my Steelforge charge into the flank. I have a bunch of Awaken going on there, what is A-okay. So I have my, Lost Ancestor here, cast the Descent spell, kill off the Dormu, charge into the Oni block right behind the Dormu, do a ton of damage as you can see, kill them off, and then I'm just I take some damage back because he activates and clashes me. I'm like, that's fine. I don't even care. I don't even think I might have Indom 1 on them. I don't remember. This guy over here might have cast Indom 1. That is a hard color. We'll just do this one. He might have cast Indom 1 on them because he has no other job. That also causes this regiment to be awakened, what then helps out with the Descent of... I don't even know what the spell is. Songs of Descent. There we go. Sweet, there you go. Songs of Descent spell. So at that position, I'm really fine. These guys just shoot into me. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I might probably take some damage there. But I am contesting that zone. He's no longer scoring it. And yeah, we're in a good spot. What else is going on? He might have scored it last turn just because of the amount of stands on it. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah. Anyway, I scored this. I'm doing really well. On the right side, my opponent decides to just march charge his big ideal monster into my Fireforge. My Fireforge are just like, okay, we'll clash you. That's fine. The Fireforge in the back walk into the table and just shoot him. That's fine. Then I have the Steelforge charge into the flank, do a bunch of damage. Okay, and then the Bowbirds just shoot them. I'm fine with that. I think he might have moved up a little bit, or just fluided just to get onto the zone. So he scores that. That's good for him. But at this point, I think I'm in a really solid spot just to kind of win. I just got to clear up a couple of little things. I'll do it in this Rouge. I got to kill my objective to score the middle. And then I'm just kind of cleaning up the rest of the stuff. But like that monster march charging in was the bad move. It had no reason to. He could have just sat on the edge of the zone and we could have played chicken with each other. I'm probably winning just because of the Fireforge shooting. But he does have Bowbirds. I do need to deal with them so that I have the tempo advantage. By killing the Bowbirds, I'm not forced to come towards him. So I probably would have sacked my Steelforge into the Bowbirds to shut them down. They are in water, so it would have been tougher. Or try and bait out the monster with the Steelforge and then have the Fireforge light it up. AP1 with their 16 attacks is doing wonders. So yeah, we're doing really good. Let's go to turn 5. Here's turn 5. As you can see, in the middle, the Steelforge just kill off the Oni. I might have just Songs of Ascended, or I might have just clashed then charged because they might have been on like 1 or 2 wounds. And so let's just go with blue. We got the Oni brick right here. Put a red line through it. They are dead. And then the Steelforge move from this position, just charge into the birds to shut them down. And then as you can see, I just move Fireforge up. I'm touching the zone. Still scoring this. These Fireforge use the heal to bring back a stand and fight the Kami brick here. Steelforge fight their Kami brick, kills them. Good job there. The other Fireforge unit will just do it in this Rouge color, just kind of runs up. So now that I have a bunch of stuff that I can go shoot the objective with, next turn I'll just take the objective and I'll take the middle zone. His Bowbirds are tied up in a unit of Steelforge that have barely taken any damage, just because of all the healing from the Awaken, and the Indom and Tenacious, which has been keeping them going. On the right side, I have this unit of Fireforge shoot and kill the big statue guy because he had taken a bunch of damage and he just like had 2 or 3 health left, so he just gets lit up and dies. I just take aim and shoot him because there's no reason not to. Then I have the Steelforge reform charge into the Bowbirds to shut them down, and I have the other unit of Fireforge run onto the zone just to keep scoring up and put a bunch of stands on it, so I'm scoring that zone. And at this point, my opponent calls it. He really has no way out. I've killed everything. I haven't lost anything. Well, I technically haven't killed everything. I still have 2 units of Bowbirds to kill. But he's really kind of just, like, has nowhere else to go. I've killed all the other major threats. The Bowbirds aren't going to win by themselves, and I haven't lost anything, and everything's back up to full stance. So, like, he's kind of stuck, and I'm sitting on all the zones. So he calls it there. Wonderful game. I, just count up the next turns. And yeah, that's game 1. Kind of how you want to play the Steelforge, Fireforged list with the dozen eggs. Take advantage of the healing, take advantage of the defensive tech. Cover your lines of fire so that you have something around you to help and support when things get on top of your Fireforge. And yeah, it was the first good game. Kind of let me bake in the course concepts of skills. In this game, I thought the Tenacious 1 Indom 1 spell had scaling. It does not, so I rolled everything with scaling, and so next games I don't do that. Alright, let's go into the score. Yeah, there we go. Score 61-8. Thank you very much, Alex. Fantastic opponent. Really good player. We chatted a bunch after the fact. He did take my advice. I don't think he won any more games, but he just played better, and so I'm really glad for that. That he's improving his play with some of the advice I gave him. It's a good feeling when that happens. All right, let's get into turn 2 or round 2 or game 2, something 2. All right, so game 2 we were playing head to head, so it's a kill point scenario, and we got our various objectives. Who took these photos? Jesus, these are bad. I'll tell you why. There's a wall basically right behind me, and I can back up far enough. I'm playing into Nords. I'm playing into a Volva Warlord with a big block of Velks. Double Bow Chosen. I think either double blooded or blooded trolls, or and then trolls MSU, one of the two. So it might be double blooded trolls. Unit of raiders. I think there's like a mountain Jotnar, some Fenner. I think there might be a Jarl with some Huskarls in here. Remember, this is a while back. But turn one, my opponent's name is Sasha. Hi, Sasha. She does really well. You know, double Bow Chosen, sweet. And Unit of Raiders. Unit of Raiders is already making a play for my objective. They can't score it unless they charge, but then they're not going to consistently score it. So they're literally going to be there to just kind of like protect the flanks and just be aggressive. What is fine if you have the follow-up for it. I think the Bow Chosen are in a good spot. I really like this Bow Chosen over here. Puts pressure on the middle. They're safe in the woods. Sasha knows I have a lot of shooting, so she's really using a lot of the defensive tech on the table to keep herself alive. The middle Bow Chosen right here I think is also a good play because you can split either side, whatever you kind of want to do. Yeah, there we go. I get nothing because all my stuff comes on turn 2. Let's go into turn 2. Because all my stuff comes on turn 2, and if you have a lot of light pressure, sadly, like Nords Raiders scoring, I'll just do that. Like, they don't score anymore. So, like, if there was a center objective, these guys would have scored, and then with the Fenner on the right, so Sasha could have got a double turn scoring. That's fine. So, I'm going to talk about this because to be honest, I think this is a mistake. I think these Fenner should have been deployed and flexed to get onto the zone immediately. Just score it. They have the speed 7, Vanguard 4, Fluid Formation. They can get on there, and then turn 3, I'll just do it in this. They reform, march the fuck away. They can reform later. It's a-okay. They'll be fine. But they can, score that, get out of the way, and then as you see behind, I'll do it in like this pink. This Volva block can then successfully get on the zone and do what they want to do. Okay, so missing out on a turn of scoring, that does matter. And you'll see in this game, it was a very close game. If Sasha did that, that would have been much closer. That does, however, prevent what happens on the right flank. The right flank gets really weird for some reason. And to be honest, I really think it's this building's fault. Just because of how close it is to the 9-inch zone head-to-head, it really crumples like how much of the table you have here. Like, we only play on like 1/3 of the table, while the other side is 2/3. So there's just more space on the other side of the table that's being used. However, you have to win that flank to score that zone. While on the 9-inch, you just have to like get to the middle and contest and score it to do work and be successful in the scenario. I get 2 units of Fireforged, Steelforge, all my characters, so we're generating tokens by the spell casting. Still not taking into effect the when the Forge unit rocks onto the table, it gets a token, so I'm only have 3 tokens, and that's kind of how I generate. But I also screw up here where I tell Sasha, hey, whenever you cast spells, it's 1 additional success, while around the Steelshaper, it is not. It's only if you are targeting my stuff. So I screw that up. I fix it for the next game, so it's Sasha. Okay. For her deployment, she makes an aggressive run with her Raiders after I start deploying stuff on. I know she's making a play on the right side just because of those Raiders. Like, they can't score anything, so she's obviously making a play. I can't score anything, so I'm like, okay, you're using that to try and make a follow-up. So I'll drop a Fireforge here, get onto the zone, contest you. That's fine. I'm looking to get into the woods to counter these Bow Chosen. We'll see how that goes. But Sasha runs her Raiders over there. Okay, she's going to make a play onto my zone as soon as possible. I got Fireforged. She's not really going to kill that anytime soon, and I'll probably bring up another unit of Fireforge and get rid of the Raiders. I'm not super worried. The Fenner coming up along this side of the table and trying to make a play that way, I don't mind that, but the issue with this is that look how far spread out. So you got Raiders here, then Fenner, then Trolls. I did that in black. That's fine. They're currently spaced out far enough that Raiders go in, I kill Raiders. Fenner go in, I kill Fenner. Trolls go in, I kill Trolls. Like, nothing is condensed enough. There's no follow-up. There's no protection. I could eat each thing one by itself, and I'll be in a really good spot, and then Sasha will lose this side, and I'll push through. What actually happens is really goddamn annoying. Sasha, you should feel great about yourself, because you'll see turn 3 how things immediately don't do that, because dice hate you. But it also helps out because Sasha is spreading herself out a lot. My stuff is really condensed, and flanks are protected and are looking at each other. On the right side, you know, Fireforge, Tempered Sorcerer on the right over here. He's just there so that he can flex casting spells as he moves up the table more towards the right. Fireforge range will be kind of fine. There's plenty of targets over there that they can shoot at. I do have to be careful with these bow chosen because they are sitting in the woods. But I'm thinking like, okay, I should be fine. You know, D4, that'll stop a lot of the regular hits, and then the healing should be able to heal them back up. And then maybe use the 5 heal just to bring back a stand if I take a lot of damage. Steelshaper and the Lost Ancestor making a play for the middle. I gotta contest that. Volks and the Volva making a play for the middle. That's smart. She's gonna use this building to keep herself safe. Prevent me from getting side charges into the Velk Brick. When you're fighting a Velk Brick with a blessed unit, you need to collapse on it with multiple things. Or shoot it. I'm either trying to do one or both. Then we got like Jarl and Huskarls kind of hanging out back here. Coming up the table. I'm not really sure what the Jarl and Huskarls whole thing was because they didn't really last that long, to be honest. But they're around, I guess. I'm like, yeah, sure, fuck it. Like, I don't know. Maybe they should have been like over here more, to be honest, just to kind of like protect the flank and funnel into the bow chosen kind of thing. I don't know. I think that was also to allow... She has another unit of trolls that'll come up through there, but I think the Huskarls could have been better positioned. So yeah, what else is going on? Yeah, trolls, they're going to be trying to fight my Steelforge. That's going to be an annoying fight. I didn't realize how bad trolls are. You think the guy who's played trolls for so long would understand how bad trolls are to play into, but I thought I had enough stuff to deal with the trolls. I do, but it just takes longer than I thought it would take, and that stalls stuff out. And that allows Bow Chosen, who are in a nice position right there, to shoot me for a little longer than I really hoped for. So yeah, that's kind of turn 2. The Raiders overcommitting, I don't think there was any need for it. They're not going to score, but they kind of need to be around. I just think Sasha, especially on this side, could have condensed all this and had things closer together before committing, because it says she trickles in, but she literally does some smart plays, but also some dice rolls just don't go well to how things should die, or on average should die, and I'm like, what the fuck's happening? Alright, let's get into turn 3, let's talk about that. Here's turn 3, yay! Mass, there's Raiders into you, yeah! So, Raiders charge into my Fireforged, don't really do any damage, they kind of bounce off them. And the Fireforged kill off a stand and do some damage. I'm like, okay, cool, they're half dead, I'll finish them off next turn. Sasha casts healing from the Volva onto the Raiders and brings back a stand and heals them up. And I'm like, oh no. That's a loss of tempo. That's going to allow Sasha to keep those Raiders there, and then the spreading out condenses. So, you know, Trolls running up the table, Bow Chosen moving up to be ineffective. To counter that, I swing the Steelforge, so because I'm hoping to kill the Raiders, get my Fireforge into these woods, and then shoot out of the woods into the Trolls, into the Bow Chosen, but the Raiders just don't die, and they're getting healing. Raiders charge in, but I have enough stands onto the zone that they're contested. So Sasha's feeling really good about that. She runs the Fenner just down the flank, fluids them so that she can get the free side charge into the Steelforge. Smart play. However, a smart play is also countered by the fact that I just walk Fireforge onto the table and shoot the Fenner in the flank. Other unit of Fireforge walks on the table and shoots Raiders, but the Raiders, I just roll poorly, and also the Raiders healing, they're fine. They take a couple wounds, but nothing to do some serious stuff. But yeah, I want to do that, I want to do that. Yeah, so these guys walk on, shoot. These guys walk on, shoot. So now I'm like, okay, that Steelforge unit, that MSU over there, he's going to be doing a lot of work. I'll just circle him in rouge. He's got to kill Fenner. He's got to kill Raiders. And then we have this Mountain Jotnar who is, coming onto the table. That guy's trying to seal the deal here. Sasha's making a very aggressive play on my side. That's all right. If I kill things effectively, I'll be in a good spot before she can score that zone. But that Mountain Jotnar is probably making a beeline for these Steelforge to kind of kill them off. And then at that point, once she kind of stops the shooting by getting regiments stuck into combat, she'll be in a good spot to kind of scored that out. So Raiders not dying or not dying effectively is what slows down my tempo enough to allow her to make this play into a better, like get into a better position so that she can kind of collapse in on me. Smart on her. My middle, how many Fireforge I got? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have another Fireforge who's in reserve still. What happens in the middle is Jarl and Raiders jump the Bow Chosen, getting on the zone. Volk and Volva run up, getting onto the zone, so they're scoring that. I run the Steelforge onto the zone, getting 3 stands, but she's got, she's got 4, so she's going to score it. However, at this point, it's going to be really weird for her to get stuff in. I kind of want to stop the Velks and the Volva. My Tempered Sorcerer and his Fireforge run up to try and get side shots into Huskarls to shut those down, and then to the Bow Chosen and everything else that's going on. I'm also in the water there. I'm trying to use the water to keep myself safe right there from any melee threats like the Huskarls, like the Trolls, like the Velks. Realizing that there's a lot of damage over there, I immediately deploy this other unit of Steelforge to kind of support that first Steelforge unit and fill that gap when that happens, because I feel like I'm going to lose them just because of the Bow Chosen shooting that's going to be uncontested for quite a while, because I'm going to have to kill the Huskarls to open up the line of sight for the Fireforge, who are then going to be shooting at half shots, but there's a Volva around who can heal them up. So I'm going to have to get the Volva under control by getting her in interference range, trying to shut down as much healing as possible. So yeah, this is not a bad play. I just think it's kind of tight, and I think Sasha could have used more of this space over on the left there to kind of spread out the army, allow it to not get stuck on itself, because if I kind of start jamming the army, like her stuff up, she's not going to be using it effectively to kind of keep me away. And if I win the right side, I will then, I'll just do it in yellow. I'll just push this all the way across, score the zone the Mountain Jotnar is, and then collapse over there. So that's kind of what's happening here. Let's get into turn 4. Here's turn 4. Things that are going well. Let's see here. Fenner charging the flank of the Steelforge. Steelforge just reform and just punch the Fenner to death. Cool. Both my units of Fireforge attacked the Raiders. Fucking die. Like, they should have died this turn. I'm in a really good spot. Cool. Blooded and Trolls. Charge the Steelforge. Steelforge. Fight back. Blooded and Trolls heal. Because of Dread, I'm not getting as many attacks as I'd like. Didn't get the Indom up. However, I did, over here with this unit Steelforge, charge in, kill the Huskarls and Jarl. Then the Velks and Volva charge in and do a bunch of damage. I then countercharge with my other unit Steelforge, getting them in there, kind of trying to lock that all down. Sasha, in retaliation, gets the Trolls from out behind the Bow Chosen. Bow Chosen start lighting up the Steelforge over here. That's why there's a bunch of damage. When Dweghom Regiment awakens, they automatically rally, so I'm never worried about being broken. This is actually a really nice mechanic for the healing, because, like, okay, I wake up, I rally, I will then heal, so we're doing good there. Realizing that it's a complete shit show over there, I got these Fireforge rolling up, and also making sure that they are in range to shoot anything that gets, you know, when those Trolls engage with those other Fireforge with my Tempered Steelshaper, and so on. So that's being stalled out right there. I got 4 to, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, I think she's still scoring that, but I'm feeling like I'm in a good spot. This will kind of play out. The right side, I'm feeling better. However, that Mountain Jotnar, he's running in there, so we'll see how the Mountain Jotnar does into the Steelforge and the Fireforge, and we'll move from there. But we're kind of fixing the issues. So I've killed 3 cards, you know, 2 regiments and a character. I haven't lost anything yet, but Sasha is scoring consistently 3 points a turn. There's only so much army I can kill before Sasha runs out of army. And yeah, let's go to probably turn 5. Here's turn 5. Okay, good things happen. Raiders do a bunch of damage, but then die to Fireforge. You know, stabbed, shot, cool. Mount Jotnar charges into my Steelforge, does a bunch of damage. Steelforge reform, and then stab it. I'm like, fucking kill this thing. God damn, get the hell out of here. And then also, I believe these Fireforge shoot it as well. So now, at this point on the right side, I got 4 regiments that are free to do whatever they want. The issue is that I now need to redeploy them from one end of the table all the way to the other side of the table to be more effective. But I have shut down that threat. That does also leave this zone over here free for me to grab. So, you know, one of these units is going to run over there. My plan is to have the Steelforge go after the Bowchosen, FireForge go after the zone, the rest of the FireForge go after these trolls. Steelforge and the trolls battle it out. As you can see, attack! Attack! Bowchosen shots! Yay! In this matchup, I didn't check and also forgot that my Steelforge have evasion 1. So I'm just taking it on 0. So I'm just, every time there's a piercing shot from the Bowchosen, I'm just taking damage. Sweet. In the middle, I don't want to say the middle, the 9. I lose my lost Ancestor and my last unit of Steelforge to the Vulks. I do enough damage to the Vulks to kind of like kill off 2 stands, put some wounds. The Volva is forced to heal her unit just because she's taking damage. Trolls take some shots, get into combat, fight this off. Other Bowchosen, they are... What are you doing? You're shooting... We'll use this pink. Yeah, you're shooting at my Steelforge, doing some damage. They've taken some shots from the Steelforge at one point. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on there. I'm thinking I'm in a good spot. This unit of FireForge is within 14 of the Velks, so they can shoot them as, you know, more line of sight is shown. Well, they can shoot them now. So yeah, we're kind of... I feel like if the Volva and Velks kind of sit back there, it's now my rate of fire versus their healing, and FireForge and Steelforge attacking to the Volva and Velks. I should do enough damage to kind of kill them. And if I do that, then I can secure that zone. I can have the Steelforge run off that zone, kill the Bowchosen, other FireForge fight the trolls, stall out the trolls as long as possible before the Steelforge can like loop around. Use the FireForge way back there at the 14 mark to kind of score that zone. Be in a really good spot. That's kind of what I'm going for. I'm killing a lot of units effectively. I'm tied up on score even though I'm not scoring any zones. But I do need to watch out for that consistency of the 9-inch scoring 3. Alright, let's go to turn, I think 6. Turn 6. Sad things happen. Steelforge here. Dead. Dies to Volva and Velks. And I believe these Bowchosen. They do get lit up by the FireForge, so now they're down to 3 stands. That's not great for them because they have their wounded. So if I get another good shot into them next turn, like if I win the roll-off, I could kill the Volva and Velks with the FireForge. This battle is just still continuing. Like to be honest, the FireForge and the Tempered Steelshaper are not going to win that. That's going to stall out forever and it'd be in favor of the trolls. I just need the FireForge to kill the Volva and Velks, and at that point, I'll feel really confident in winning the game. As you can see on the left side, though, you know, making the play, as I mentioned last turn, run over there, run to over here to stop the Bowchosen shooting. These guys run over here, start putting in work. These guys are reforming to head kind of this way, and then we have the battle between the Steelforge and the trolls. Still going on, because it'll just never fucking end. But yeah, at this point I actually feel pretty good. Next turn will determine if I'm in a really good spot or not, but I'm still killing a lot of stuff. I don't kill anything this turn, so now the score is being caught up in Sasha's favor, so I still have to be careful, but I'm still killing units, still gaining a score like that, and I'm still going to start going for the 4 zone over here to score that out, what is going to catch me up and also keep me ahead. So let's go to turn, I think 7. Wow, what's going on? So, we'll just draw this. Steelforge, trolls, Steelforge, heal, rally, clash, blah, 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 kill the trolls, yay. Bowchosen, shoot the Steelforge, kill them. My other Steelforge just march charge into the flank. This one stand shoots them, doesn't really do many damage to this one stand. This stand just runs in. Scores, good. These guys... Oh, I think these guys actually had to go shoot the Steelforge, or the trolls as well, to kind of kill them. Does that, kills them, sweet. This, I want to say, is a bad play. So, Sasha knows that she's in a bad spot. Why is she in a bad spot? She's in a bad spot because if I win the roll-off, I'm going to do a bunch of damage. But if she backs up and heals, I'm just going to move up and keep, like, blasting. And especially I'm going to keep blasting and probably, hopefully, like, kill off 2 stands. She's going to bring 1 back. She's in interference range of the Tempered Steelshaper, so she's just dealing with that over and over and over again. It's not fun. And it's not doing really well, so she makes the play to charge my Steelshaper. Or, sorry, not my Steelshaper. My Fireforge to kind of shut them down. But that is now no longer scoring her the 9. So that is a turn not scoring that zone. But she knows if she loses the Warlord, that's 6 points, and now she's no longer scoring the zone at all. I don't agree with that play. I think she should have moved back. She should have healed. She should have just stalled it out because this game is going to be very close because of how it's playing. But yeah, that I think coming forward was a bad move. This Fireforged unit now has a target over here, but now has to, run all the way over there. Bow Chosen just kind of shuffle around so that they can get line of sight to this Steelshaper and kind of shoot him, put some damage into me. Fireforge and Trolls just keep wailing on each other. They're going to be there until the Bow Chosen kill the Fireforge, basically. Alright, that's turn 7. It's kind of getting close, but that removal of the Velk block onto my Fireforge, I'm feeling really good, because now I scored 4 points, my opponent hasn't scored anything. We're kind of tied up on points. I don't know what the score is, we'll find that out in editing, but we're in a good spot. Pardon me. Let's get on to the next turn. Here's turn 8. Alright, so score, kill, move into position to get within 14. There we go. These two just hit each other. I'm just healing them and doing dumb shit, so like keeping those stands down. Still no scoring on the 9er. Bow Chosen, oh here we go. Bow Chosen moving and then shot into my Fireforge. That's why they're down to 1 stand. And then, Trolls and Fireforge stabbing at each other. So my Warlord, my Fireforge, and character, that's 6 points if they die. That's going to catch Sasha up once she kills them. She's in a very good spot to kill them. But the rest of it's on the other side of the table. I'm scoring the 4. She needs to get one of the mediums onto her zone to try and score it out. But she's now stuck in combat with everything else. If the Volks run away, they will be taking a bunch of damage, and then I'll just fire at them to like finish them off. I'm trying to bring in more resources to kill them off. This is getting a pretty close game. But I still feel, I start doing like the math of if I'm going to win, I'm in a really good spot. And yeah, let's go from there. Next turn, I think that's turn 9. Yeah, this looks like turn 9. So turn 9, Steelshaper dies to Bow Chosen shooting. And then the Trolls reform, march onto the zone. So now she's finally scoring that. Good job. Velks and the Fireforge are just healing and stabbing at each other again. No, wrong one. So like stab, heal, shoot, doing good there. This unit of Fireforge is, moving that way to try and help out. Steelforge looking to either contest or, mainly contest, I think is the right word. Contest the zone, while also just kind of being in range of maybe scoring it. But I do have this over here. So let's go, I think, into turn 10. Here's turn 10. We figure out that for Sasha to win, she has to kill 1 unit. So Sasha wins the Supremacy, casts her heal spell to bring back more Velks. Velks, Bless Clash the Fireforge. I live on like a couple wounds, and I go, okay, I'm still looking at this zone over here, but I realize that I'm 1 point ahead if I do nothing, and so I decide to just instead double march back, keep myself safe from Bow Chosen so that she can't just kill me on a lucky roll, and yeah, win the game. Scoring out the last 2 zones, I win the game by 1, so let's go check out that score. 32 to 31. So yeah, really good game, really close. She kind of started finally cracking through all the Dweghom armor and healing at the end there. I don't agree with the... What is it? The scoring, like leaving the zone. I think she should have stayed there to score it. Just try and like heal through it kind of thing. I don't like it. Probably I win that fight over time, but she has a Bow Chosen unit that can kind of run over and try and, you know, get in the way, block line of sight, shoot at the Fireforge, stop that. The trolls are winning the other fight, but the loss of the character, like the Warlord, is what really kind of brought it back for her to be consistent, because she was scoring the 9-inch 3 times, and I started scoring the 4-inch, and then I killed a bunch of stuff, so I was kind of staying even on points that way. The Raiders living probably an extra turn is what kind of allowed her to keep the tempo up on the right side. I feel like maybe I should have moved one of my Fireforge units behind the Steelforge on the right side so that it could flex to the middle if needed more effectively. That would have helped out instead of, you know, spending a turn running over. But I needed to, I didn't want to shoot the shots through the woods because the Raiders were in the woods at the time, so I put them on the other side. And then they also probably could have got effective shots into the trolls to kind of win that fight. So, like, I think that one unit of Fireforge, that MSU that was, like, way in the back in the middle of the right side, could have been positioned more centrally behind the right side Steelforge and then been effective as the game played out. But you don't really know that until as the game plays out. I won that right side, but then it took me quite a while to, like, be relevant again with those regiments. And I kind of just need to score out and stall the left as long as possible at that point. Maybe I should have played more back with my left side. I'm not exactly sure. I think I should have just put one more unit on that left side, and I think it would have done very well. I think there was a bit of an overcommitment on the right side, just because of how aggressive Sasha was getting, and especially because the Raiders were living and I need them to die, and if they died, like, at an appropriate time, what they normally do, I would have been in a better bet to kind of collapse in and kill the rest of the stuff efficiently, what would have allowed me to feel more comfortable putting a regiment onto that left side, because I for sure didn't want Sasha scoring the 9-inch and the 4-inch. But that is round 2. Let's get into round 3. So here's round 3. I'm playing into an Old Dominion list. This has a Thero Crater. This is a Xhiliarch Warlord with, I think, double Centaur, Promemians, the melee horses, block of Varangian Guard, a unit of Athanatoi, Bone Golems, Canifers, a couple units of Legionaries, Hierodeacon, Cultists, Archimandrite, Legionary, stuff like that. So it's a pretty good list. Kind of what, like, quotes, meta Old Dominion is currently now. You run a Xhiliarch Warlord with his pumped up warband of Varangian Guard, double Centaur, and either, like, Athanatoi or Legionaries, depending on how you feel or what you need. And then you run a Thero Crater with some Legionaries, and then, you know, like, Hierodeacon, maybe an Archimandrite, whatever else you want. You kind of go from there for your own personal taste. But it's basically Xhiliarch Warlord and a Thero Crater is the core of current meta Old Dominion. So I'm playing to that. We have turn 1, a Hierodeacon and Cultist just run up the table. Sweet. We're playing Maelstrom. So in this scenario, you kind of want to control 2 out of the 3 zones. This building is going to, I don't say do a lot of work. I feel like the hindering terrain here is going to do a lot more work. But not hindering, the field for obscuring and broken is going to do a lot more work. Just because I think I thought it was hindering at one point. It didn't take impact attacks like an idiot. But yeah, I don't mind the table. Terrain's in a relevant spot. It's relevant to the scenario. Like, it's very much we are going to be playing between these 2 black lines. So yeah, that's turn 1. Running up the table, generating dark power. That's really it. It's Old Dominion. Let's get into turn 2. Turn 2 for myself doesn't go that well. I get no successes, and I only have my Warlord and Fireforge onto the table. I put them to be in the woods because there's a little bit of shooting from the cultists. I, reduce it as much as possible. And then I think these are woods, like they're just in my head woods for some reason, while they are fields. So they're obscuring and broken. So I could have put a Steelforge unit in there, and I probably should have. In this game, I get too aggressive, and you'll see it as that plays out. And I should have held back, set up my lines, and push forward accordingly. I just didn't want my opponent to get on zones, but I don't have the regiments at the appropriate time to have the tempo to prevent that. However, Luke here, he's got his Archimandrite and his Legionnaires just kind of running up the table. Cultists and Hierodeacon don't get within range. We're kind of, playing chicken with each other. There's no reason to get in range right now, but there is enough reason to kind of move forward. Press the line of engagement forward so that we're not, you're not fighting super far back. That's turn 2. Turn 3, we're going to have a bunch of stuff, so let's go look at that turn. Yay, here's turn 3. So we start getting stuff on the table. He's got a Canifer unit Bone Golem unit, and I think both his calves still in reserve. So he has a ton of stuff still in reserve, because I think he's running like a 13-card deck or something. So I'm not sure where he's exactly going to be redeploying those stuff. Like, he has a hole here, and he has a bit of a hole here, and he can kind of put some stuff over here and here. Like, he's got plenty of holes to fill out and put where he wants to. But he runs a unit of Legionaries up the table to start contesting that zone. I put up a unit of Fireforge. I leave this open so that I can either put a Steelforge unit there if he puts more stuff on that side and just kind of help out. I get 3 Steelforge. I realize that he's doing a lot in the middle here, so he's got his Athanatoi, his Varangian Guard, and his Xhiliarch, and his big Thorkeeter here. The Thorkeeter kind of moves weirdly just because of how big it is, and because it can wheel really aggressively, and it kind of quickly, weirdly enough, gets places quickly enough. I think it's like speed 6. But he can flex it either this way or this way very easily just because it doesn't take up a lot of space on the table. So good on that. His Xhiliarch and his Varangian Guard are protected by the Cultists and Legionaries. He's got follow-up with the Athanatoi. He has a bunch of other stuff that's still coming on the table. I put 3 Steelforge. This is a misdeploy. This unit, I'll do in orange of Steelforge. Probably could have got away going. I'll put him in yellow in this square over here, and I could have threw another unit of Fireforge right behind those Fireforge. I didn't necessarily want to do that just because of like size differences. There's a couple big things, but like Varangian Guard are size 1, and I just need to kind of move it over. So I should have, instead of putting this Fireforge unit so aggressively forward, I should have actually just moved them back and then put the Steelforge in front of them. There's no reason right now that Fireforge unit needs to be that far forward. I need to generate gaps. So as you see on the right here, there's a gap right there for that Steelforge, between the Steelforge and that building, for those Fireforge to shoot through for whatever goes onto that middle zone. And I should have done that more in this matchup, but instead I get too aggressive. And I pay for it, especially with the Xhiliarch's supremacy. So let's go to turn 3, and I'll kind of show you how that develops. Here's turn 3. So we got both our horses onto the table. Yay. We have our Bone Golems on the table. Yay. I get aggressive because I don't want to lose out on the scoring. So my Lost Ancestor and Steelforge just kind of get up there, score that zone, good on them. The Legionaries just run onto the zone, score that, good on them. I also push my Steelforge onto that zone to try and score it. Last card is the Thorkeeter, who comes in, charges, tramples, clashes, spellcasts onto my Steelforge. I take a bunch of damage. That's not that great. My Fireforge in a position to kind of like pop caps at people, but we both don't really get aggressive with it. I then run my Steelforge in front of my Fireforge, because at this point the Thorkeeter is obviously going for that middle zone. The Fireforge can see that Thorkeeter. I'll just do it in yellow. Boop. So I'm thinking, okay, I'll reduce its defense, and then I'll shoot it, and then I'll shoot it with the this unit of Fireforge that moved up to get into position, so it's in effective range. And that'll kind of kill it, and then if I block those Fireforge with that Steelforge, then the Xhiliarch has to kind of run over. Luke makes the play as a second last card with those Vanguards to just kind of like march charge into me. He makes the charge, and he's just like engages me, so that's going to be really bad because he's going to get that double clash if I don't get the roll off to win. So I'm kind of like, oh, this really sucks. On the left here, I have this unit of Fireforge to help out the Steelforge, and move up the table and shoot them as they make their attacks. He puts his Athanatoi right across from me, but his Bone Golems in the back there are kind of getting all blocked up, and I'm kind of hoping, okay, maybe I'll block it up. But he's also looking to swing these Centaurs into the side. Except at this point, so the thing that's like saving my ass, to be honest, is that Luke is already starting to step on his own toes and getting too many things caught up onto each other, and he doesn't really have the fluidity of the motion to get stuff around in nice spots. It is going to help me out later in the game, but right now it's not going to help me out at all, as I'm going to lose a bunch of stuff on turn 4 or 5. Because I don't know where his stuff is going, and I need to like throw some cards out and put some stuff on the table. I dropped these Fireforge and the Steelforge to go for this zone as well. This is an over deployment. I haven't seen the Canifers, and I know, like, in retrospect, I know where the Canifers are going. I'll just do it in this pink. They're going to be going somewhere around here. So it's an over deployment, and I should have moved at least one of the Fireforge, or probably one of the Fireforge, to be honest, just like you and Rouge, like over here somewhere to help out, and it would have been much better for me as these fights go on. That's kind of the issue over there that I'm going to have, because Luke just kind of like runs the unit of Legionaries there, scores it, and then just runs off. But he's focusing a lot on this side of the table, what's fine, but he's overcommitting to this point where, like, even the Centaur Cav, like, he could have put something over here, contest it, shut down the shooting, because, like, the Fireforge are going to beat the Legionaries, and I'm going to win that fight. I even think the Fireforge actually just shot one of these stands off, so he's already losing that fight. Okay, let's get into turn 5. Here's turn 5. Luke wins, like, all the roll-offs and gets everything he wants. So, things that Luke wants that he got. First off, Ranging Guard, Clash, kill the Steelforge, then charge, Clash into the second unit of Steelforge, do a bunch of damage. Awesome. Steelforge activate, seeing the writing on the wall, I have this Lost Ancestor go, do a bunch of damage into the giant slug monster, the OK Raider. Then Luke has the Athanatoid, there we go. Charge into that unit of Steelforge, kills them off before they can do anything. That's not very good for me at all. In retaliation, I have these Fireforge shoot them. This kind of gets bad for Luke here because he has too many things over here, not very many targets. He does have a target with the other unit, Steelforge and the Bone Golems and the Cultists. You know, if he can unpack it well, he'll have targets. But he's kind of jammed in his own toes in this corner for how he's deploying currently. That's a little too big. There we go. He's kind of, he's on his toes. He can't really unpack that well. I'm going to keep shooting at him to keep, to try and clear that up and kill it with that one unit of Fireforge, then move over there. The Canifers, once the Canifers get deployed here, I realize that he's not going to be putting anything on the right side, so I just start moving up both units of Fireforge to kind of kill off the Legionaries. They just kind of walk up and shoot them while scoring that zone. I also reform and start marching the Steelforge unit towards the Thorikeeter, because the Thorikeeter is fucking up and killing my Steelforge. It just fights them, but due to interference and how the Steelshapers needing an extra hit spell or ability works and interference, the Thorikeeter doesn't get spell casting off. The healing from the Steelforge or from the Supremacy keeps them alive long enough that they're still there. I cast the -1 defense spell, and then I just light up the Thorikeeter, like bang, 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 attacks, doing really well. It's taking a lot of damage. It's taking like 20 damage or something. Like it's doing good there. As you can see, he's getting stuck on his toes. This Centaur unit just follows up, kind of doesn't have really anywhere to go, and that's it. Archimandrite and Legionaries just kind of hanging out in the back. That's kind of fine for now, but I'm trying to swing the right side over here at some point, so those Archimandrite and Legionaries need to get going somewhere if they're going to be relevant. The Canifers, they're stuck in the back. There's too many horses around. His other unit of Centaurs reforms, charges into my Fireforge to like lock them down, so I stop shooting. And at this point, I've kind of I think I've lost. I've lost 2 units of Steelforge for nothing. The Thorikeeter's still alive. I'm trying to crawl it back. I'm going to use another Steelforge, and I'm kind of going to be stuck here just taking a ton of damage from Old Dominion. He's scoring one zone, I'm scoring another zone. The one in the middle is, I'll just do it in green and then put a line through it, is contested simply because he has 1 stand and I have 2, but he has 6 contesting stands with the Thorikeeter. So right now we're same on score, but he's out activating me a lot, and my only hope here, I actually kind of debated just calling it at this point, but I'm no, play it out. You don't get very many games. Let's find out what happens, and just kind of play it over there. I've already seen where my mistakes are. I get over aggressive in the middle, and I over deploy on the right side because I just didn't know if he was going to deploy anything there. Because he over deployed on the middle and left side,
he just starts getting gummed up on himself and can't get his units into effective range to kill things effectively, what stalls the game out and gives me more time. And then when you're in one of these situations, you want to try and generate as much time as possible by making the game as messy as possible. So let's get into round, I think, 6. Here we go, round 6. Fireforge, kill the Thorkeeter. Steelforge and the Lost Ancestor survive against the Vanguards who... Varangian Guards who shuffle over an attack. The Lost Ancestor and one stand Steelforge also shot them. Because he's trying to unpack himself. Centaurs move over, get on the zone. Legionaries get on the zone. So he's scoring that zone. Cool. I do have a toe there. Steelforge can't really get in because my other unit, Steelforge, didn't die, weirdly enough. So I'm like, okay, cool. They just kind of position themselves to fill up the spot once that becomes available. Centaurs unpack themselves, clash into my Fireforge. Fireforge clash into the Centaurs. Okay, we're doing there. Canifers are just trying to find a spot to go to. They're not doing very well. Fireforge shoot Legionaries, score the zone. Other unit Fireforge gets stuck in when Legionaries charge in. Okay, cool. He's now trying to stall me out because he's realizing, okay, I'm scoring one zone. Oh, actually, we should talk about this. Yeah. Anyway, he's like, we're both scoring one zone. He's scoring 2 zones, but his left side, he can't just run away from. Like, if he pulls those bone golems off that zone, he's no longer scoring it, and then I can kind of recover and hopefully, like, crawl my way back up. What happened to the Athanatoy map? Oh, I just shot them in the face. So, at this point, I'm like, okay, he can't leave that zone because he doesn't have anything over there. If I just have these Fireforge keep shooting, they'll be in a good spot. So that's why the Canifers are trying to make their way over here. I think the Cultist and Hierodeacon should have just gone into like a 4-wide and just moved over to generate space, because like he's really crumpled in there. He doesn't have a really like good place to move. He's kind of stuck in while I'm just kind of like throwing bodies at the problem to try and stall this out as long as possible to try and gain a little bit of a score lead off the right side and the middle, so that I can kind of hopefully win at the very end by killing enough things. So let's get into turn... This might be 6 or 7, I don't know. Okay, next turn. There we go. Fireforge, they die. They kill off a stand of Centaurs, and the Centaurs kill them and move over onto the zone. The Bone Golems charge off the zone into my Fireforge, so now they're over there. Hierodeacon and the Cultists are over there. So now, he's fixed that part on the left there. Canifers then once again move into position. My Steelforge die. What happened here? Yeah, Steelforge die. Then my other unit, Steelforge, charges in, kills off the Varangians, get onto the zone. The Centaurs charge into the Steelforge, kills off a stand. What, weirdly enough, prevents these guys from charging into my Steelforge because they'll hit the Centaurs first. So now he has to waste another activation, moving around to get in. Fireforge just shoot people. These Fireforge on the left here clear off that stand, score that zone, get over there, and then these Fireforge run over to get within range of these Legionaries, because I realize these Legionaries need to die with the Archimandrite, because they're the one who's going to score that zone the longest. My Steelforge and my other unit of Fireforge can kill off their Centaurs. I kill off those Legionaries. I'm in a good spot to then turn the game into a split table like this, and I can kind of try and use my shooting, what Old Dominion is susceptible to win the matchup. Because right now we are... he's pulling a bit away on points, but I'm kind of bringing it back because he's wasted so much time being stuck on his toes. Alright, so let's get into the next turn. I don't know what it is anymore. So good things happen. Centaur Avatara get stabbed and shot by Steelforge. Canifers charge into the flank, kill off a stand. Then my... Actually, no. Sorry. Back up. Centaur Avatara... Centaur... Whatever. The Centaurs. The Undead Centaurs die to Steelforge. Then the Canifers charge into the Steelforge, kill off a stand. But I have one stand on the zone still, so I'm scoring it because I keep putting them in the same spot that my initial Steelforge were on. The unit of Legionaries, who is right here, this little 4 block, gets shot by these guys, loses 2 stance. Now, I have no spell casting, so I'm actually getting low on, what is it? Dweghom coin, the tokens. So I look at it and I realize my opponent has like 2 health left on that thing, or like 2 or 4 health left. So I have no more coins. I walk up and just shoot. Or I think I just take aim and shoot. I think they're already in range. I shoot at them. The AP 1, he saved me on 1s. I do enough hits and enough wounds go through that I kill off that unit. And now that there's nothing over there, that Steelforge is scoring me that zone. So now we're scoring 2 zones to Luke's 1. There we go. To counteract this, the cultists and Hierarchy can move over. They're going to try and start throwing pots and casting spells at the Steelforge. These centaurs are stuck on that zone to score it for the rest of the game. Bone golems do a fantastic job killing my Fireforge off over here, finally getting rid of that. However, now these bone golems have to run over there to actually be relevant again, just like my stuff. And I'm kind of crawling back, weirdly enough. And I'm like, okay, good, we're in a good spot. We can kind of hopefully use the guns to start finishing off canifers. Then we get Fireforge on the zone and start scoring it, contesting it. If we can kill the canifers, and then if we can kill the centaurs, the bone golems are really not a threat simply because they have to stay on to the other zone. I have 2 zones to his 1. Cultists, I'm defense. I'm going to be like defense 4 because of the shield against cultist shooting. I should be able to survive that and then hopefully like kill off enough that I don't have to deal with it. Yeah, and at that point, I'm feeling like I'm making that comeback. I'm doing really well. Let's get into turn. This might be 9. Yeah, this looks like turn 9. So, canifers clash and kill my Steelforge. I think they clash. They don't kill it because of they don't inspire. They're always inspire at tier 4 at this point. So I think these cultists and the Hierarchy can shoot spells at it and finally kills it. I agree with him with going with the canifers first because if he doesn't get that damage, the Steelforge will just like attack and maybe kill off a stand that then makes it weaker for my Fireforge to finish off the canifers. The centaurs get into position and also tow that zone to score it. The bone golems reform, start moving towards that zone. This guy's just generating me Dweghom coins and the zone. This guy's just running. I realize okay, this is gonna be turn 9. I don't need to do any shooting. What I need to do is I need to get this Fireforge unit onto the zone with as many stands as possible to score out. I get my my unit on there, and then I think this cultist unit, this Hierarchy can shoot them and kill off a stand. But I'm like, that's okay. The other unit of Fireforge is going to come on there. I'm then going to have 5 to his 3 probably. I just need to either A, stall it out, or B, score it again and I win. Because the score is so close. So let's get into turn 10 and see how that happens. Here's turn 10. First thing, I have these guys move on to the zone. Just to get them on there, not to be able to be pushed off later if for some reason my Fireforge in front die. And then the canifers, let's say, run in and get in front of that zone and lock me out. They then shoot, I'll do it in orange, into the canifers. The other unit of Fireforge, I think they also just shoot into canifers. These centaurs just march charge into the Fireforge, but that's 2 stands to 5 stands. It blocks out the other unit of canifers here, so you can't really get onto the zone. Hierarchy can't really do much. He can't really see. He might have spellcast. It doesn't really matter. Bone Golem's getting his own score. Fireforge getting his own score, and that's it. This was a really tough matchup. I needed to respect Old Dominion more, simply because I got too aggressive early on. Yeah, let's just see the score. So yeah, there we go. 16 to 13. So yeah, I needed to respect Old Dominion more, give it that space it needs so that it's not double clashing me. The Athanatoid got a charge in, double clash with Athanatoid into Steelforge, killed off my Steelforge. I didn't get anything back. Didn't have traps set up as I normally do, and I should have taken that extra turn and that extra time to do so instead of getting aggressive. I then made the game really messy by getting Luke stuck on all his stuff, and he over deployed to one side, and he should have threw one of the centaur units or even the canifers over onto the right side to keep me back, forcing me to kill it. And then, hey, maybe I just roll poorly and he rolls well and he kills all my Fireforge and then scores that zone. because the Cannon Force didn't really do anything that game, until the very end. What? How do I say this? Like, isn't a good use of them, and like Luke and I kind of talked about that at the end of the game. As you can see, like he's doing really well at like the start and middle, and then kind of falls off while I'm like kind of staying a point or two under him, and then like follow up, and that's how I won. Yeah, this is really tough. The Thorakeeter is still good. It not scoring is fine just because of its sheer amount of output and its amount of tankiness. But Dweghom has the tools to deal with it. I just need to play that matchup a bit more, especially with the list, to deploy in the optimal way to kill it and not get as aggressive as I did with Old Dominion. There was really no reason to. I could have gave him the turn of scoring, got into a better position instead of panicking and losing a bunch of stuff for free and then playing from a down position and trying to rally back up. Fireforge and Steelforge, probably two of the best units in Dweghom, and just spam the shit out of them, and you'll do good. So yeah, overall, did really well. Won my 3 games. Very happy. Came in first. I had a great time in Calgary. Packed up all of the minis that Garrett from Stone Geekery made for me, or built for me, into my toolbox. The same one I took to Hios. That toolbox is getting a lot of use out of. Quite glad. It was worthy of purchase of just getting a toolbox. Fits really well on a plane. And yeah, I after that, like, to be honest, I really don't have much more. Event was run really well. Lena is a fantastic TO who runs really solid events. Everything's on time, went really well. Good prizing, all that stuff. But with that, if you liked what you watched, go like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. There's a bunch of podcasts you can find on like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, wherever you get your podcasts, it's on there. There's Cassandra's Bonk Table Twitter. You'll find all that in the link in the description below. And yeah, I hope you guys all have a great day. Bye!